Assalamualaikum to Dr. Ali. My name is Muhammad Arif, and today I'm going to be presenting my article review of oral English communication difficulties and coping strategies of Diploma of Hotel Management students in UiTM. And we're starting off with a quote by Diaz. You know, when I was a kid who had difficulty speaking English when I first immigrated, but in my head, when I read a book, I spoke English perfectly. No one could correct my Spanish. And I think that I treated the books as a way, to be like masterful in a language that was really difficult for me for many years. And I picked this quote to be inserted in this presentation because I think it relates to the difficulties that ESL learners had to go through in order to master the communication. So on to the introduction. We all know every main goal of ESL learners is to communicate effectively, but it can be difficult. Sometimes a message in English can be difficult to get across due to lack of knowledge of lexical items. Some learners use body language, repeat familiar words, or code switch. And the objectives of the research paper are, the first one is to find out what are the oral communication difficulties faced by the students of UiTM in Permatangpao, which is in Penang. And the second is, what are the types of coping strategies for speaking problems used by the students? And the third one is, what are the types of coping strategies for listening problems used by the students? And on to the methodology. 100 students from Diploma of Hotel Management students at UiTM Permatangpao are selected, and they are given questionnaires. All 100 students completed the questionnaire, and 16 of them volunteered to participate in both the focus group interviews and the journal writing activity, 8 per group. So there are 2 groups. 20 to 30 minutes were spent per session for the interviews, and 1 week were given to the students for the journal writing activity. The interview is conducted in English, but the students were told that they are free to respond in both English or Malay. Same goes to the journal writing activity. The questions are constructed in English, but the students are free to write in both English or Malay. So the instrumentation and procedure. This research in particular employed a mixed method approach whereby it combined qualitative and quantitative methods in collecting data. For the quantitative instrument, a questionnaire was used to investigate learners' use of communication strategy during oral communication activities, and they used a 5-point Likert scale. And for the qualitative instruments, focus group interviews and a journal writing activity were used to collect data on the oral communication difficulties faced by the learners. And this is arguably the most important part of the research, which is 4 types of communication difficulties identified by Dornier and Scott. They are resource deficit, which stands for RD. These acronyms will be very, very important later on. The second is processing time pressure, TP. Third one is on performance problem, OWP, and the last one is other performance problem, OPP. And these are the findings and the results for the qualitative part. These are the extracts from the interview. And as we can see here, there is RD1 and RD2, which is basically the resource deficit problem that were mentioned beforehand. And the second one is the TP, again, for the time processing. The third one is own performance problem. And the fifth one is other performance problem. And for the quantitative part of the findings, we can see here in the table, social effectiveness strategies are ranked number 1. And this is for speaking problems. And for listening problems, the students who participated in the research often resort to negotiation for meaning. So the discussion here is based on the qualitative research. It can be seen that the 4 types of communication difficulties identified by Dornier and Scott Again, going back to the uh, resource deficit, processing time pressure, on performance problem, and other performance problem. All those four are apparent in the UiTM Permatang PAU students. On the other hand, the quantitative research depicted that the students frequently use social affecting strategies the most to cope with their speaking problems. And for listening problems, the students use negotiation for meaning as a way to cope with their listening problems. So to conclude the article review, first and foremost, ESL teachers should create learning situations that encourage the learners. And one of the types of learning that will help with that is task-based learning, because it encourages the students to actually actively participate in the classroom. The second conclusion that I can get from this article review is learning about communication strategies enables learners to become both the active speaker and active listener. Therefore, the teaching should be done directly by explaining the types of each strategy. And the final conclusion that I got from this article review is the practice of using communication strategies should be regarded as a natural learning process, because strategies in handling communication breakdowns is communicative itself. That's all I got for today. Thank you again to Dr. Ali. And that's all from me. Thank you.